let's get started. Welcome to the session number 18 of Davos Experience in Tokyo. My name is Yoko Ishikura. I'm a freelancer and trying to experimenting with the idea that individuals can function and you don't have to belong to the organization in the era of crowdsourcing. And I've been very much intrigued by the concept of crowdsourcing these days, and I'm also very much interested in the online learning so that the individuals can develop skills. And right now, I will let you know through my blog, and that's going to be in Japanese, but I wrote the column sort of connecting these two, crowdsourcing and online learning, so that the technology can be utilized in a much broader way. And today we are starting sort of a new sub-series, and that is focusing much more on skills. How many of you, this is the first time? Oh, quite a few, okay. So you joined the good beginning after the summer. We didn't have any session in August, and July we did the session on if you were to be reborn, do you want to be born Japanese or not, which was a very interesting discussion. And so far, we have been discussing or role-playing for the issues, such as technology and education, aging and technology, or branding of Japan, and let's see, the purpose of business, and all these things, like a work-life balance. But we wanted to, I tend to get a little bit bored when you do the same thing. So I want to have something a little bit different. And we thought that probably if we are to have some kind of specific skills, it's one thing to be able to discuss or role play or debate the issues, but at the same time, we may be focusing a little bit, we can focus on the skill side. And this is, with that note, with that concept, we sort of decided to start this new skill building subsection. So we'll try to mix both the issue-driven sessions, where we discuss a lot of things, and at the same time, we'll try to incorporate some of the skill sessions as well. And today is the first one of that series. And one of the things that I have been intrigued, and I have been sort of, it's very much on my mind, is self-branding. When you are, let's back up a little bit. Some people say the technology will eliminate almost half of the jobs which exist today. And probably I can explain where I saw it, and what's my thinking. I am a member of the Global Agenda Council of the World Economic Forum on future of jobs. And this is the 2-year term. We just had a virtual conference for the first time with all the new members, which is just about less than 20, but from all over the world. And I have been involved with talent mobility, skills gap, and skills in education in the past on the same Global Agenda Councils. Global Agenda Council is the council of experts throughout the world, organized by the World Economic Forum, which holds annual meeting in Davos. And so a lot of people know of them as Davos. And the Global Agenda Council, there are about 80 Global Agenda Councils today, and each one works on some issues, some region, or anything of that kind of things. And I have been involved probably about 7 years or so, 6, 7 years. And I started off with, there is one council on Japan. There's another council on East Asia and so forth. So we have a council on various kinds of things. And we also have a council on climate change. We have a council on ocean and water, things like that. And I was at the beginning, I was a member of the Japan Council and Skills Council. But I was not, there are so many other people who can discuss Japan. So I switched and I said, if I were to choose one, I would like to choose skills. And even though skills is not my area. So in the first place, I wondered why they picked me up for this council. But I have been working with them, and it became skills and talent mobility. And then human capital has become such a big issue in the past 2-3 years. And before then, the financial capital was a big issue because we had Lehman, crisis and all sorts of things. But lately, we have been much more interested in human capital and talent. And at the same time, we have this huge, high unemployment, particularly youth unemployment in different parts of the world. So human capital, employment, skills, education, all these things has become very important. And finally, I think this year, they decided to sort of merge several councils and call it Future of Jobs. And when I heard that I'll be assigned, I will be invited as a member to the Future of Jobs, I got really excited because that's precisely what I would like to do. And so that's what I am going to be involved. And in Future of Jobs, we talk about unemployment, but we talk about the technology, the impact or implications of technology in the job. And what do we do when about half of the jobs are gone because of technology? Technology can replace all these people. And when you study a little bit about artificial intelligence, robotics, big data, and things like that, it's amazing how much of the job can be replaced. And not only the manual, very simple and repetitive jobs, but some professional jobs, such as lawyers, accountants, and all these people can be, a part of their work can be replaced. So that is going to be a big deal for all of us, because the robots can do our job. So we got to do something, right? So I think it's very important that each one of us knows or identifies what we could do that machines cannot do. And I think that's going to be a self-branding. And self-branding, whenever we're talking about branding, it's got to have some context. It's got to have some substance. You can't just say, I can do this, I can do that, if you can't do it. Because it's a transparent world, people would find out sooner or later. So in order to promote self-branding, in order to figure out your self-brand, your own brand, you have to make sure that you have skill sets, and the skill sets or the knowledge have to be renewed, constantly renewed, because it becomes very obsolete, very quickly. At the same time, you should be able to say, this is what I have done, your results, your accomplishment. And so in order, I don't think we can offer the opportunities to use your skills because we don't offer any employment per se. But I think if the companies start doing crowdsourcing, sort of trying to find the people for the project basis rather than trying to hire them into the organization, individuals, if they have enough skill, good skill to do the job, to do that particular project, they can join that particular project. And they can say, this is what I have done for this particular project. So I think once we get this crowdsourcing and online learning and self-branding together, I think that can work in a very interesting new way. And if, I know a lot of people are very concerned about job security, and if you don't work for the organization, what happens? But at the same time, if you have good skills and you can work on different projects, you can have multiple careers, so to speak. And you don't have to depend upon just one organization, because the organization may go under. And I mean, it's, you know, all these large organizations in Japan, they are in danger, so to speak. I mean, Sony has just incurred incredible amount of loss, and I think that, I hope that's the end of the loss. But these things we could have never imagined like 5 years ago. So if you work for Sony, I'm fine, you know, I'm doing a lot of interesting things. I'll have a job, it's exciting, you know, I'll get salary and so forth, but you'll never know. So you really have to explore and you have to sort of improve or develop new skills and new knowledge all the time. And at the same time, having the skill or the knowledge or the accomplishment is just a part of it. You should be able to communicate that to your prospective employers, to your friends, or to any organizations. And that's where the storytelling comes in. We often say that the management or the leaders today need to be able to tell a story rather than show all the data and charts and analysis. You should be able to tell your own story in order to communicate very well and in order to convince people, in order to engage people. And engagement is such an important concept today. You have to engage people to work together. And telling your story is a very one good way for communication and for convincing. And so that's what we want to try. And we often hear you have to tell your story, but how do I do this? I mean, you know, where do I go? Do I go to actor school to learn how to tell a story? Or what do I do? So that's what we would like to practice, or we would like to try today. And as a matter of fact, I had an interview, I think it was yesterday, with the young president of the company, foreign affiliate, Japanese subsidiary of foreign, non-Japanese company, global company, who I happen to know since about 20 years ago. So he is in early 40s. And he has been a president in 3 different companies already. So he really hasn't changed at all over the 2 decades, and I was very surprised. And he's still very natural, you know, very good and so forth. And he said that he has done tremendous transformation of the companies at 3 different companies. Well, 2 different companies, 2 companies, because one was the new startup, the new expansion in Japan, which is very successful. And he said, well, he just turned around, he has pretty much taken this company, his current company, through the transformation. And I asked, you know, how can you just make sure that the change takes place? And he says, internal communication is extremely important. And you really have to tell a story. A very simple story, because people get so overwhelmed if you try to tell them a very complicated story. And they can remember 1 or 2 things only. So you should be able to tell a story, simple story, nothing fancy, but very clear message, mission, and you know why you want to do. So that convinced me even stronger. I said, well, we will try this storytelling. And has any one of you read Creative Confidence by Kelly? That's Kelly, right? That's the brother who started IDEO.
Okay.
Yeah. And I just happened to pick up the book, and because I'm very interested. How many of you have heard of IDEO? Okay. Can you explain? Okay. Anybody wants to add anything? Where is it located? Yeah, Bay Area, I think. And they have done, does anybody know anything that IDEO has done?
They created a mouse.
Mouse, yeah. Mouse for PC in the first place. They worked quite extensively with Steve Jobs. And I think they are the ones who came up with it. It's not in Japan yet, but they had this toothpaste which stands up. I think that's another one. And they have done a lot of things, and it's very well known. IDEO is the company which sort of started this design thinking. How many of you have heard of design thinking? Okay, that's a pretty big deal as well for innovation. And so this is the brothers, I think one of the brothers has started IDEO. And so I was reading this book. It's really fascinating. And it's a very easy read. So I recommend that you can read. And they said, you know, every one of us is creative. But we don't have creative confidence. And a lot of people think, I'm not creative. And you know, a lot of people think that they're born creative. And creators are like artists, musicians, you know, all these people, designers. But everybody's creative. I mean, think about yourself when you were like 2, 3 years old. You were doing all sorts of things, very creative. You want to know so many things. And that's, you know, like curiosity is the source of creativity and innovation. So that's what it is. And they said, and I wanted to sort of focus on that as well. They said just drawing, yokaku, is a very interesting way to start realizing how creative you could be. And we use drawing a picture as a first step to do something. And so I thought probably we can try that today. And when you say draw a picture, people say, oh, I can't draw. But he said something like, you know, very simple, you know, rectangle, circle, square, and all these things. This is not like that. I know. This is something like, you know, these are the kinds of things we're talking about. We're not talking about something really fancy. You can draw something very fancy, that's fine. But you can draw something like this, too. So when we say draw a picture, I'm not talking about something of the artist kind. So you can draw anything, you know, you like. And what we would like to do today is, I would like you to break up into probably 5, 6 groups. And we have all sorts of things, paper and marker and other things. And each one of you, I would like each one of you to draw a picture entitled Summer of 2014. So you can draw anything that comes to your mind. And so, you know, draw a picture. So each individual, you do that for about 10, 15 minutes. Well, we'll see how it goes. And then I would like each one of you to explain, to tell a story based upon that picture that you draw to other members of your team. So you will have about 5, 6 people in each group. So 5 of you will take turns to explain, to tell the story of your picture entitled Summer of 2014. Then after that, I will have a group assignment, so I'll let you know after that. Okay? And I have tried it a few times, and I think one one we tried was when I was at KMB and we were doing the project. We said, well, then we were trying, our project was called Space Connecting the Divided World. And so and that was the concept that I was trying to convey. And the students who organized the sort of retreat, she said, well, draw a picture that signifies, that reflects what do you mean by space connecting the divided world. What's the ideal state look like? So that's what I did. And you could try something else as well, but those are the kinds of things. So, but this time it's a summer of 2014, which is just ending. So it's very, recent, and you can draw anything. You can draw something that you have done, or you can draw something that took place in the summer of 2014, or whatever. Clear?
Like any key? Like any key?
Yeah, right, yes. Yeah, when you were in grade school, you draw a lot of, so anything, but summer of 2014 is like, that opens up in many things. So you can pick any and just draw. Okay? So let's see, how many are there? Probably we have 5 tables? Okay, 5 tables. So why don't you go to pick whatever you like. Probably the group can, and take a chair and go to the table and start drawing.